नमस्ते and welcome to Apna Television. आप सभी का मैं स्वागत करता हूँ. मेरा नाम विनी लोहान है and today we are going to talk about stress, anxiety and depression. This is not a new problem. This has been a problem globally. Wherever you are in the world, stress and anxiety have hurt families, people in their lives. It has had very deep lasting impact on many people's lives and the people around them. In today's time, this problem has even compounded. With COVID-19, we are living in a world filled with uncertainty. हमें नहीं पता कि हमारे businesses के साथ क्या होगा. What's going to happen to our jobs? Our families are under stress. Children are under stress. And this is why we have honorary Professor Dr. Girish Kanji today to discuss the role of stress and anxiety in our life and what we can do about it.
Thank you, Vinny. Thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure for me to be able to communicate to the audience today on practical tips on how everyone can reduce their stress while stuck in lockdown.
So Dr. Kanji, you have written multiple books on the topic. You have researched this. Can you tell us, where did your journey begin? Like, what got you interested in this?
This was a personal story for me, Vinny. When I was young, about 5, I contracted TB and I was placed into the chest hospital in Wellington in isolation. I spent 3 long months there and I've blocked it out of my memory, but I remember it being a very, very sad time for me. A year later, another tragedy struck. I was in a high impact accident and fractured my hip. Yeah, this led to another 9 weeks in hospital, in traction. Now, ever since the age of 5 or 6 to the age of 40, for 35 years I experienced nightmares and night sweats 3 or 4 days a week. I had a lot of anxiety, used to worry about everything, and even had an episode of depression. So I lived through a lot of stress symptoms for a long, long time.
I was very sorry to hear that you had to go through all of this, but I guess this would have led you to have much more interest in the problem rather than just it being a theoretical thing that one was studying. This was a problem that you yourself were facing. So can you tell us a little bit about what did you do in those times? How did you cope with it? What were the methods you were utilizing and did they work? What happened?
Well, for most of my whole life I've been exercising. I used to do a lot of running, play hockey, and I'm sure this is one of the factors that helped me get through many difficult years and probably helped me sleep reasonably well at times. But at times when I stopped exercising, things I think would have got worse. My interest peaked really, and I have a passion for learning. I love to learn things and solve puzzles. And at the age of 40, I was fortunate enough to start a PhD where I spent 5 years looking at stress and pain.
Also, you spent quite time at the university learning and going deeper into the problem. And so where does your understanding stand now? Like, what have you realized over the study course and how does this apply to our lives?
Well, let's give people a simple explanation about stress.
Yes, please, let's begin off with that.
Yeah. What happens when we have stress is basically 6 stress chemicals are released and they actually attach to the brain. And when they attach to the brain, they spark electricity. And symptoms in our brain are basically due to sparks of electricity. So in one part of your brain, we may get sparks of electricity and get insomnia and poor sleep. Another part of our brain, it may give us anxiety, panic attack, and create anger.
Oh.
And so another part of our brain, electricity can change and cause depression symptoms, headaches in other parts of our brain, epilepsy in other parts of our brain. So when we think about symptoms, we can think about electrical signals that happen in the brain. Now, the stress chemicals attached to our brain increase electricity and create symptoms. Now, we really need to go back into our days when we were cavemen fighting tigers to see how this all relates to us. So what would happen is when you saw the tiger, the stress chemicals go up, and then when you run, fight and sweat, they'd go down. And you know, lots of people know when you go for a long run, you come home, you feel nice and relaxed. Now what happens in today's world is we have poor sleep, we have stress, concentration, and all of these things, and pain, and all of these things increase our stress chemicals in our brain.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, however, they're not followed by running and fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So the stress chemicals stay in our brain and they end up our stress brain.
Oh.
And really, interestingly, they actually make parts of our stress brain and body grow.
Oh, so you're saying the brain literally swells up because of these chemicals which are not able to leave the body, because now we're not able to go through that, as you were saying, if we saw the tiger we had to run.
Yeah.
Now because of stress is just building up inside our body, and those chemicals and those toxins stay inside us.
Well, it's slightly different than that, Vinny, but in a way it's like when you're doing weights,
Mhm.
you build up your muscle.
Mhm.
And if you have prolonged periods of stress, you actually increase the size of your brain and adrenal gland, and so they become super sensitive and produce more stress chemicals for any given stress, pretty much for the rest of your life. And this is what explains my 35 odd years of nightmares, night sweats, because of the hospitalizations as a child. And this can also be explained like people going to war. They have a prolonged period of stress, and the post-traumatic stress disorder that they develop, which includes nightmares, night sweats, insomnia, anxiety, depression, are pretty much because of their stress brains and bodies have actually grown in size. And the studies show this categorically.
So doctor, so is this reversible? Can we reverse this increase in the size of the brain and the sensitivity that we build?
Absolutely.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
this is what I've spent the last 4.5 years writing a book on brain connections. And while I was writing this book, I was glad to see that there's basically 5 habits that will reduce the activity of your stress brain. And these can all be performed in your own home during this lockdown.
Please tell us about what these 5 habits are.
Well, let's go for the first one, heat. And heat's one of my favorites. So heat reduces the activity of our stress chemicals in our brain. And we know this intuitively. Look at a country like Fiji. It's famous for having relaxed and chilled people. And then when we look at Europe, Scandinavian countries and New Zealand, basically people are certainly not as relaxed as Fiji. So heat directly reduces stress chemicals, and the way we can do this at home is take a hot bath. If you have a hot bath, 20 minutes a day is an excellent dose. And we need to do this 4 or 5 days a week, because as we can imagine, if our stress brain is wound up, if we have 1 bath a week, we can unwind it a little bit, but then the week's stress will wind it up again. So if we have a bath 4 or 5 days a week, it can slowly unwind the brain till it actually, over 6 to 7 weeks, can almost completely unwind.
Oh wow, that's a very simple tip that most of us can do at home as well.
Look, if you have a hot bath, it's an excellent, simple tip that really works. And studies show heat reduces stress chemicals in our brain.
Wonderful. So, and I guess when the lockdown ends, to do sauna, steam rooms, do they also assist in this?
Absolutely. And personally, I go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week in Onehunga, and I live in South Epsom now. And basically the spa, the sauna, and the hot bath, they all work the same. They basically reduce our stress chemicals, and hence they also explain a little bit why in winter we feel a bit more down than summer.
Ah, that's quite an insight. So then what's the second tip, doctor?
The second one, which we all know, is exercise. And basically we can think of this like we've seen the tiger, we do our exercise to run, fight, sweat, and we deplete our stress chemicals. So the more intense the exercise, the better. Now let me explain this. A lot of people come to me with stress symptoms and they say, look doc, I walk regularly. Walking's okay, but it doesn't deplete stress chemicals like intense exercise. And it's a bit like, if you see the tiger, what are you going to do? Walk away?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. You really want high intensity exercise. It's better than walking to reduce stress chemicals.
Okay, so you said heat, exercise, what else?
The next one is the most simplest, and it's breathing and meditation, and I put these together.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing people can do at home, and you don't need any equipment, it costs nothing, is basically to lie down, to close your eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and to breathe. Now put your hands on your stomach, and you breathe in for 5 seconds, and out for 5 seconds. Basically, counting while you breathe is all you need to do. You don't have to say anything or do anything else. If you do this for 20 to 40 minutes a day, this will reduce the activity of your stress brain within about 6 to 8 weeks. Now, I started doing this when I learned this while studying for this new book that I was writing.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did was I had my cell phone, I put the timer on vibrate mode, and I'd started with 10 minutes because that's all I could do initially.
Yep.
I'd do another 10 minutes, and I expanded it, and I was doing up to an hour.
Oh.
And what I found was, after the first 20 minutes, your mind goes this blank, and it's quite a blissful feeling actually. And so I really recommend that, you know, especially some people can't exercise. You know, they have a bad hip, they have a bad knee, their body doesn't allow it. But everybody can pretty much lie down and do the breathing exercise. At Auckland University, with my colleague Professor Partharoop and others, we're producing an app and a sensor that measures your stress brain
Mm-hmm.
while you're breathing in and out for 5 seconds. And this should be released hopefully by the end of the year. I've been working on it for a couple of years now, and I'm very excited to be able to release this for people, basically to help them help themselves.
Oh wow, so you're saying almost that we'll be able to assess how valuable the impact that the exercises are and the breathing is having on ourselves as well.
Absolutely. One of the things we so often need is feedback.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we might be lying there and breathing, but it's wonderful to see a screen and let it show us how well we're doing and the acting and the fact that it's reducing.
Definitely. So, what are the points, Doctor?
The two remaining points are ancient. One from India. Firstly, India, yoga.
Ah.
Now, there's a lot of people who enjoy yoga,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people swear by its benefits. The research shows that yoga reduces the activity of our stress brain and can help improve insomnia, anxiety and depression, our stress symptoms. The dose of yoga is around 60 minutes, often 4 or 5 days a week, and it takes 6 to 12 weeks to have an excellent benefit. Now, with the yoga,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that we know about yoga is that people are taking deep breaths and basically also moving their bodies around. And it's the deep breathing that's very helpful in yoga, I believe.
And what's the technique that comes to us from China?
The last one is Tai Chi.
Ah.
Very simple, and I know a lot of people around the world know this already, but doing Tai Chi in the medical research, 45 minutes to an hour, 4 or 5 days a week, will reduce the activity of your stress brain and in fact help you sleep up to an hour more every night, and help anxiety and depression.
Wonderful. So, Doctor, I think one of the things that I'm catching repeatedly from you is that you can't just do these things one-off. You have to, be consistent in your practice and stick to the routines to get the benefits. Is that consistent throughout all these things? How long is the period before we can start seeing changes in our bodies and our minds?
Vinny, you're right, and I have patients come to me. I had one come to me last week, and she says, look, I do yoga every day, 10 minutes and sometimes 20 minutes a day. And, that's a really good start, but I can actually say to her, look, that's great, but the dose is not quite enough, and it really needs to be the 45 minutes to an hour a day. And really what you'll see is if you have a hot bath for 20 minutes every day for 2 weeks, you will see results, and I guarantee you'll be feeling a little bit tireder, you'll have less difficulty getting to sleep, and you'll wake up less often. However, the full benefits are seen really at the 6 to 8 week mark, when you sort of start becoming more bulletproof with respect to your sleeping and your stress symptoms.
Wonderful. तो मैं जो लोग सुन रहे हैं घर पे उनके लिए एक 5 पॉइंट की समरी बताता हूँ. एक, हीट. तो गर्म पानी में नहाएं। अगर घर पे बाथ है तो उसमें 20 मिनट्स लेटें। जब जिम्स वगैरह खुल जाएंगे तो सोना और स्टीम रूम में भी आप जा सकते हैं। दूसरा, एक्सरसाइज भी ऐसी जिसमें पसीना आए। तो आप अगर भागने जा रहे हैं या फिर कोई भी रिगरस एक्सरसाइज आप कर रहे हैं वो इतनी देर तक करी जाए, कम से कम 20 मिनट से 30 मिनट में पसीना आना चाहिए आपको। दोबारा फिर योगा, सभी लोगों को पता है योगा के बेनिफिट्स कितने होते हैं, बट अगेन वही बात इंपॉर्टेंट है यहाँ पे कि आप कम से कम आधा घंटा अपनी प्रैक्टिस को रखें। ताई ची, देर आर मैनी, बहुत सारी जगह हैं आजकल, कम्युनिटी सेंटर्स हैं जहाँ पे आप ताई ची फ्री में सीख सकते हैं जाके, तो ताई ची सीखिए। एंड लास्टली, जो कि बहुत ही आसान है, जो सब कर सकते हैं, ब्रीदिंग। जो डॉक्टर साहब ने जैसे हमें बताया कि 20 मिनट लेट के गहरी सांस लेनी है, 5 सेकंड के लिए अंदर, 5 सेकंड के लिए बाहर। ये कोई भी कर सकता है घर पे। और ये जो सारे तरीके जो डॉक्टर साहब ने आज हमको बताए, इनमें सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट ये है कि इनको करते रहना है, कम से भी कम 6 से 8 वीक। ये नहीं कि आपने थोड़े 2 दिन किया फिर छोड़ दिया, फिर किया फिर छोड़ दिया, फिर फ़ायदा नहीं हो। तो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट बात जरूरी है कि जो भी आप टिप्स चूज़ करें उनको कंटिन्यूसली करें, और एज डॉक्टर ने कहा है कि रिजल्ट्स सून मिलेंगे। So doctors, tell us a little bit about, I had the privilege of reading your book, your recent book last night, and I found it very simple, to the point. I even passed it on to my mother, who is not an avid reader, but I'm sure she will, get the benefit of this book. So tell us a little bit about what went into you writing to this particular book around sleep, and what do you cover in it?
The new book is on sleep and energy, and basically how to sleep well to increase your energy. Now, what we explain in the book is basically what a good night's sleep does for you. And when we go to sleep and have a deep sleep, basically there are 4 or 5 hormones that are released in the body, like testosterone, growth hormone, estrogen, and these basically increase our energy and vitality. And when we don't sleep, we basically get tired, as we all know. So it covers what a good night's sleep does for us. It basically covers what happens when we don't sleep well for long periods. And the research shows that, we have great risks from not sleeping well. And many people don't know this, but our risk of cancer increases if we don't sleep well. Our risk of heart disease, our risk of high blood pressure, depression, and all sorts of other things increase if we have repeated poor sleep. Lastly, we go on to the habits that improve your sleep and reduce the activity of your stress brain. So the book is very simply written, and I want it to go out to a really wide audience, and it's on Amazon as well as Apple Books, and we've priced it at $4.99 so that it's accessible to everyone during the lockdown period.
So doctor, you have told us these 5 habits, but I'm really curious, where does medication fit into all of this? Because I'm sure people listening at home as well, many may already have pre-existing, prescriptions of medication. So in your research, what did you understand? What's the role of medication in this?
Well, medications are excellent, and don't get me wrong, although I talk about the 5 habits, basically what I'm talking about is 5 habits for life. And my interest in people's health is not how you're going to be in 6-8 weeks. It's how you're going to be in 2 or 3 decades' time. Are you going to be happy? Are you going to be sleeping well? Or are you going to be troubled with insomnia, anxiety, depression? Now, medications are easy to take. They take no time and relatively cheap, especially in countries with health subsidies. And they can actually really help us in the short term while we're establishing these habits. So I'm not averse to medications at all, and I certainly prescribe them. And quite often, what people need to understand about medications is that there are 20, 30, 40 tablets that we can use for stress-related illness. And these tablets actually attach to our brain as well, and they basically can help reduce electricity as well. And so they actually do work for some people, but quite often though, for some people, they do nothing at all. So for doctors like myself, it's not about saying that, hey, this medication is going to help you. It's really about, hey, we've got these medications. If you'd like to try them, what we need to do is go through all these medications and see which one suits you the best. And so I always, as a doctor, start prescribing in very low dose and then increasing slowly, so that side effects basically don't stop people having what may be a useful intervention. But in my view, what I like to do is explain to people the stress brain, basically what stress and childhood trauma does to it, and why people have insomnia, anxiety, depression and other symptoms, so that they can get linked in to the habits. And I try, and often people have barriers. You know, they are very busy. They have a commute to work, they have busy jobs, maybe a few kids, and so really going to the gym for them is not really an option. So in that situation, I'll counsel people to say, hey, look, let's try and get maybe an exercise cycle in front of the television and do 20 minutes a day while you're watching the news, so that you can not spend too much time, because you may not have the time. And what we want to do is reduce barriers for people to performing habits for life. However, in the beginning, taking medications can be very helpful.
Okay, wonderful. And doctor, your work has covered this vast landscape of physical pain as well. You know, today I know we have been concentrating and focusing on the mental pains, and what's the correlation between the two? Did you find any information and understanding, or how does stress have any implications on physical pain as well?
You're right, Vinny. I'm basically by trade a pain specialist, and that's what I see a lot of people for, and I also see them for stress-related disorders in the last year or so. Basically, what I found out in my PhD was that stress amplifies pain directly, and the way it does this is when we have the stress response, 6 stress chemicals go to our brain and increase electricity in the part of our brain that subserves pain. And this is why when we have stress for several weeks, we get more headache, and also why we might get migraines. And so stress directly amplifies all pain, including headache, back pain, neck pain. And one of the great mysteries, and I've been a doctor for 30 years, and for many years, for decades, I'd see people coming in, and you know, they have this pain, and then they come in 6 months later, perhaps their mother's died or their partners have left them, and all of a sudden their pain goes up. And it stays up for quite a while. And I always wondered, you know, what was behind this phenomenon. And it wasn't until I did the 5 years doing my PhD and learning about neurotransmitters, the brain, the stress response, that I started piecing a model together that explains exactly why stress amplifies pain and leads to headache type of symptoms.
Oh, wonderful. That's quite a correlation, and I'm sure people at home will find the benefit, because I'm sure a lot of people suffer from lower back pain, and if stress can have an impact on that, that will be something very valuable to know and explore.
Certainly, it's in my practice with anybody who comes in with chronic pain, I always tell them about the stress system, and you know, if they have a hot bath every day, 20 minutes, this can actually reduce their back pain, often by 30%.
Oh my God.
So if they exercise, do a bit of yoga, Tai Chi, or meditation breathing, they can actually improve their pain. So, you know, stress and pain are sort of, you know, very, very interactive.
And doctor, do you see any particular impact that age has on this? Like, in your patients that you have been treating and seeing, does a certain age bracket have more impact of this on their lives?
Look, I think in terms of age, there's a very interesting phenomenon, in fact, that the over 80s are the happiest people in the world.
Oh, wow.
And what actually happens is the activity of our stress brain and body actually reduces as we go around 65, 70 years of age. And hence, the elderly actually have less headache and less depression than people often in younger years. So as we get a lot older, our stress-related symptoms often reduce.
Oh, I'm sure that will be great news for the elder listeners.
It's something to look forward to.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
What else? So, Doctor, you mentioned this app that you're working on as well for pain and back pain. Could you tell us a little bit about that and what led you to build that and what's behind it?
So, as I said, we're working on several projects, and these projects are to help people and put health into the hands of people by basically having books, apps, and videos. And we're currently producing a low back pain app as well. And the low back pain app basically is full of videos which will educate patients on why they have back pain and also how they can help themselves and where they can seek help for back pain.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Doctor, thank you very much for coming into the studio today and really helping us understand information about anxiety and depression and stress, particularly both the mental and the physical. I'm sure people listening at home will find the benefits when they follow through with the advice. एंड आप सब लोग जो घर पे सुन रहे हैं प्लीज़ डॉक्टर की बात पे अटेंशन दीजिएगा, इनको इन चीज़ों को जो टिप्स आपने आज सुनी इनको फॉलो कीजिएगा, वरना कोई फ़ायदा नहीं होएगा. So it's very important that you go through and execute these things. And if you have any questions, comments or queries, you can write to us at tv36@apnatv.co.nz, and we look forward to having this conversation again with you soon. Thank you very much.